Smile, be, chat, join for networking.
Hello, good morning. I'm Rebecca Lowrie from Self Alchemy, which is personal and business transformation programs based on ancient wisdom and ancient practices. That's going to all make a lot more sense later on. What I want to talk to you about today is what I call leading from the heart and why I think it is the cutting edge of business. Very excited about it. So over the last couple of years, I've been noticing something very different happening in business. Business publications and business leaders and entrepreneurs are talking about things like compassion and self-awareness and empathy in terms of business. Jeff Weiner, who is the CEO of LinkedIn, has been on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, where I'm going one of these days, talking about what he calls compassionate leadership and how compassionate leadership has changed the culture of LinkedIn and how it's changed his leadership for the better. Gary Vaynerchuk, do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is? Mm-hmm. I call him the entrepreneur du jour. He says that the three pillars of success are self-awareness, empathy, and hustle. And of course, by hustle, I think he means action, and hopefully inspired action. Self-awareness is when you know and you own your strengths and you play to them. It's when you know and you accept your weaknesses and you love yourself anyway. And it's when you are willing to be seen and to be vulnerable and to be accountable for your mistakes. Empathy is when you can stand in someone else's shoes and see the world through their eyes for a moment. And all of these qualities, so compassion and empathy and self-awareness and even inspired action, require you to be connected to your heart, which is very exciting for me. So I want to give you an experience of what I'm talking about so that you start to understand it more than just with your brain. So we're going to do an experiment, if you're up for that. Hopefully you are. So all you have to do is look around the room at each other. I know you're kind of sitting back to back, so you might just swivel a bit in your chairs. So just in silence, look around at the other people in the room. And just be aware of what you're seeing and thinking and feeling. And then sit straight again and close your eyes. And we close your eyes just so you're not distracted. And I want you to reflect for a moment on what you were seeing and what you were thinking and how you were feeling. And then I want to invite you to drop into your heart, which is basically I want you to start to feel love. And the easiest way to do that is to think of someone or something that you love and send some love to them. It's what your heart does naturally. And then when you feel that, I want to invite you to open your eyes and, still with silence, look around the room again. Look around at each other, so you have to swivel again. And this time, look through the eyes of your heart. Look through the eyes of love, or through the eyes of compassion. And just see how that feels. Okay. And then you can shake that off, because I know it's awkward to look at each other. And then with a show of hands, just tell me, did you notice a difference? You did. Okay. And so what was the difference? Anyway. Excellent. That's a good one.
More awareness.
More awareness, yeah. Anybody else?
More intense.
It is more intense for sure, yeah. Okay, great. So you got a feel for what I'm talking about. Excellent, thank you. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I got to be here talking about leading from the heart and why it's so important to me. My quick potted history is that I was born in Dallas, Texas. I was raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and I've lived in London for 30 years, which is surprising to me. Amazing. 26 years ago, I came across a book on Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism. I'd never heard of it before, but I felt compelled to read this book. And it talked about chanting as a path to the divine, as a path to self-awareness, and as a path to the source. And I didn't like the idea of chanting at all. But I realized that what they were talking about, I was already experiencing when I was dancing, or sometimes during sex, if I was lucky. And but it resonated. And quickly after that book, someone gave me a book called Body Mind by Ken Dichtwald. And the book talked about the connection between the body and the mind and how the body has intelligence and wisdom if you know how to access it. And these two books propelled me into studying things like massage and energy healing and intuitive healing and all kinds of things that started coming my way. As soon as you study one, something else comes along. And for the last 25 years, I've been studying these things and working in this field with people and their bodies and their energy. 13 years ago, I found myself at a festival called Buddhafield. It's a really lovely festival. It's very small, no drink, no drugs, very family friendly. And I'd heard that there was going to be a Tantra workshop. Now, from the time that my hormones stirred when I was young, I'd always been fascinated by sex and sexuality, and I knew that there was more to it than I'd been told. And so when I heard about this Tantra workshop, I knew I had to be there. On the morning of it, I'm going down the field like this in festival time, which is kind of a slow meander, and people are running past me either side. And I thought, where are they going? And I grabbed one, what are you doing? What's happened? And they said, it's the Tantra workshop. If you don't hurry, you won't get in. So I shot off like a bullet. Got to get there. And they closed the doors just as I got into the marquee. And 2 hours later, my life had changed. And I looked around at the participants, and they were all like this, they looked really blissed out, their hearts were open, they looked like they'd seen God. I had a very different experience. I had one of those film moments where the whole room went black, and a single spotlight shone down on the teacher, and I heard the words, "You are meant to do this." And my reaction was, hell no. I was absolutely terrified. I took her leaflet, I put it next to the PC at home, because that was a long time ago, and every time I looked at it, I cried, really, actually cried. I was so afraid. But I ended up on her workshop, of course, about 18 months later. It took me 18 months to get there, and about the second weekend in, she said, "You already know this. You just don't know what you know. Come and teach with me, come and assist me, and we'll wake it up." And I knew she was right. I didn't really know what she meant, but I knew it was right. So I spent the next few years assisting her and teaching with her, and also going off and studying with other teachers, because Tantra is really a personal process. You have to have your own process. And I always say a practitioner can only take someone as far as they're willing to go themselves. So I went deep. And for the last 11 years, that's what I've been doing. I've been a Tantra teacher and working with conscious sexuality. And here's what I've learned from those years. We are all hardwired for connection. We're all hardwired to make a difference. And everyone is looking for validation. I know that business owners are looking for meaning and purpose nowadays. They want to feel like they are having an impact. Consumers want to know what causes your business supports before they part with their money. And employees want to feel like they're part of a team that's creating something meaningful. So that brings me to, how do we navigate a more personal business landscape, and how do we be good leaders at that time? I think the way that we be good leaders is to lead from the heart. Now, you have a choice, and you're always going to fluctuate. You can either lead from ego, and ego is like a computer program that you switch on first thing in the morning, and it's a collection of habits and patterns and beliefs and conditioning that we all pick up along the way. Everyone does that. The thing with the ego is, its job is to keep you safe. It's for survival. And so anything new or innovative or creative is seen as risky and dangerous. So the ego will shut you down, so you just do the same thing all the time. Or you can learn how to lead from your heart, but it's much more vulnerable and more scary, because you have to be very present to lead from the heart. And of course, the heart gets hurt and you have to keep it open. So the idea isn't that you learn to lead from the heart and then you can do it and that's all you ever do. You're going to fluctuate between the two all the time. And the idea is just to gain some awareness. Which part of me am I coming from right now? In this conversation with an employee or with my beloved or in this sales talk, which part of me is in play, and can I make a shift? What happens if I open my heart here? What happens if I be more present and more vulnerable in this conversation? And I think this is the way forward for business. It's already happening, and I think it's just going to trickle down from LinkedIn and Gary Vaynerchuk to all of us. And since that's going to happen, I want to share with you 2 or 3 ways that you can practice and cultivate leading from the heart, which is going to require you to do some more experimenting. Are you up for that?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. So the first, one of the most important ones, is to be present. Because if you're not present, you're not there in what's happening and you're going to miss it. So the quickest way to be present, to get present, is to focus on your breathing. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a minute. And that's really just so you can focus inward and lose all distractions. And I just want you to notice that you're breathing. So you don't have to do any fancy kind of breathing. Just notice that you have an in-breath and an out-breath, in-breath and an out-breath. Your breath can only ever be in the present moment. It's not in the past. It's not in the future. It's right here, right now. And when you focus on it, so are you. Okay, so you can open your eyes. Did you get a sense of it? And we only did it very second. Yeah? Get a few nods? Okay. So when you're going into a conversation, whether it's a tricky one or not, if you need to be present, well, you always need to be present. Focus on your breathing, even like you saw, just a few seconds does the trick. And then you're here and you can deal with whatever's going on in this moment instead of worrying about the past or projecting your fears into the future. Great. Okay, 2 more. The second one is to cultivate a practice of empathy. And as I said before, empathy is when you can stand in someone else's shoes and see the world through their eyes. So again, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think of someone that you maybe have a difficult situation with, or that you need to have a tricky conversation with. And I want you to imagine stepping into their body and into their energy. And imagine what might it feel like to move through the world as them. How does it feel to carry their body and their shape? And how does it feel to look at the world through the eyes of their conditioning and their fears and the things that have happened to them? And how might they be looking at the situation with you? And then just send them a little love, because it's a nice thing to do. And then step back into your own self, your own body. You might want to shift or shake a little bit so you know you're back in your own body. Did you get a sense of that?
Huge.
Yeah. Anybody else get a sense? Lots of nods? Okay, everyone's gone really quiet. I'm going to take that as a good sign. Okay, and the last one I want to share with you is to have a practice of gratitude. So gratitude used to be only thought of in the realms of the hippie woo-woo, but actually, thankfully, science has studied it, and now it's valid, right? So that's how it works. Well, I'm grateful it's been studied, because what they've proven is that when you have a practice of gratitude, it actually changes your physiology. It changes the molecules of your body, and it changes your thinking, and it changes your presence with other people. There's lots of ways to practice gratitude, but I'm going to share a couple with you now, and we're going to practice one. So the one I want us to practice is what I call gratitude tennis. And here's how you play gratitude tennis. The first thing you have to do is feel grateful. So you have to kind of summon that up from within. You can fake it till you make it a little bit, but it's good if you can summon up the feeling. And then you're going to sit with a partner, and you can do this with a business partner, a loved one, a child. You can ring me and play with me because I love it. And you're going to feel it, and then you're going to say to your partner, today I feel grateful that I'm breathing. And it's that simple. You don't have to find the big platitudes. You know, today I'm grateful that I fed 1,000 whatever. No, just something simple. And you say it, your partner hears you wholeheartedly. They don't respond or go, oh yeah, me too, or whatever. They just hear it. And then when it's landed and you'll know it's done, then your partner says one back. And you go back and forth saying them until you don't want to say them anymore. Although here, we're going to just do 2 each. So can you, I know it's awkward, but can you kind of swivel around, find someone to do them with? I'll do it with you. Or, oh no, you can do, oh no, because then, okay, so first, I want one person in each pair to put their hand up. So the other person's going to go first. So So everyone be quiet a minute. Start to feel gratitude, summon it up from in you somewhere, open your heart. You don't have to know what's going to come out of your mouth. And then look at your partner, and whoever's going first, say you're one, let it be heard, and then go back and forth. We'll do two. And then when you've finished, come back into silence so I know you're done. Okay, go.
Today I am grateful for just happiness.
Nice. Today, I'm grateful for doing this talk.
And today I am grateful for hearing it.
And I'm grateful you're sitting here because it's a lovely, friendly face. Thank you. Okay. People tend to chat a bit. Okay, so drawing it to a close. Drawing it to a close. Then come, just swivel back round. I actually felt, it feels like the air in here's changed actually to me, but I feel those sorts of things. How did that feel to you? Yeah, good. A few words maybe? Important. Nice. Yeah. Do you want to say more?
To take the time to just notice it's small stuff.
Yeah.
But it's important.
Yeah, it is important. And thanks, because I want to say something about that. So there's some days where you wake up and you're just on your knees and everything is shit, and it's hard to find something to be grateful for. What I recommend is keeping a list somewhere. Keep a list in your wallet, on your phone, you know, a sheet that you have on the bathroom mirror, something. Write down a few when you've got access to them. And then on days you think, I don't have anything to be grateful for, go and find your list and recycle them, because you can use them over and over and over again. They never get old, and that really helps. I know people who have benefited greatly from that. So, and you can have them related to work and family and business. You can have different kinds of gratitudes. Great, thank you for taking part in all of those. I know it's kind of awkward and scary. So I just want to leave you with a quote. It's from a book called Reinventing Organizations by a man named Frederick Laloux. And he says, extraordinary things begin to happen when you dare to take all of who you are to work. Thank you.
Smile, be chat, join for networking.